The coronavirus outbreak is having a tremendous impact on students and families across this country. Right now, 39 states have closed their public schools. That means 42 million children are home from school, and that presents a major challenge for parents who work and now have to become their children's teachers, and for students who rely on school for meals. For many, it's their lifeline. Joining us now, former Secretary of Education Arne Duncan and President and CEO of Children's Aid, Phoebe Boyer. Secretary Duncan, you have kids at home. Explain to us the challenges for parents right now, working families who can't call on a grandparent, can't call on a service worker. They're truly isolated at home and they don't have the skills to teach.
Yeah, this is a really, really stressful time for parents, and I hate that we're in this situation as a nation and as a planet. But what I'm seeing is school districts stepping up to provide resources, parents doing a great job. And it's interesting, these are really tough times. And yes, we have to keep reading going and math going and fractions going, and we can talk about that. But this is also an amazing time for us as parents to teach compassion and to teach empathy. This is a time our children will never forget the rest of their lives. And the more we can work with them, yes, on the academic part, but also on what are the life lessons we're learning here? How do we all learn together? How do we take care of each other? I actually think it's an amazing opportunity to try and instill those lessons, not just to talk about them, but to live them and to live them as families.
Arne, I hear that sentiment. I believe it. I live it. I practice it in my house. But compassion isn't going to get kids good scores on the SATs.
No, I agree with that, and we need to reduce those anxieties now. I think that first and foremost, we're trying to keep people alive now, but there's a number of resources that school districts are working on. So whether it's low-tech things in Cleveland where they're dropping off homework and taking it back, and meals along bus routes to Miami where everyone has a device, and there's already been great interaction between students and their teachers online. Learning has to continue. It will continue, but again, it's bigger than that. Now we need to be looking at the big picture.
Phoebe, you serve 50,000 families in New York. For so many of these kids, it's not 9 to 3. They're going to school 7 to 5, and they don't have devices at home.
That's right.
What's it
like? It's challenging. I mean, I think as Arne said, we're putting together in some of our schools packages so that they can do remote learning. But the technology divide is so incredibly great. And it's not just our teachers, right? It's our foster care workers who have to meet with our families and children and keep an eye on them. We are not set up with the technology to do that remotely. And so, our communities, I think when you think about a crisis like this, it's low-income communities that are going to be hit the most. Not only are there not going to be the wages that are there, but they don't have the resources to either stock up on things. They don't have the resources to have the technology to do this remote learning. So it's a real crisis. And then there's the isolation. We need to make sure our staff are safe and paid and able to do the work that we do best, which is be the social fabric of this city.
How are you balancing that? You have a $6 million monthly payroll that you need to meet, but you also need to keep your staff and these families physically safe.
Yeah, it's my greatest worry. I mean, our staff are the most extraordinary people. They go into people's homes. They support our families and kids, sometimes at their own risk. And so I have to make sure that they have the tools and that they have the supplies. And quite frankly, I need to make sure they have the paychecks, right? And so we have to be thinking about how do we support the workforce that is in the front line, whether it is foster care workers, whether it is early childhood workers, whether it's the folks who are working in homeless shelters. That should be the call throughout this nation. The United States is a very unique place in terms of the support network of nonprofits, right? No other country operates the way we do. That's the front line of our communities. That's what's going to get us through this, and we have to support them.
Arne, we always talk about inequality in our education system. Right now, how much more apparent is it? And is there some sort of silver lining that there's a way to use this to change it?
That's a great point, and it has always been true. It's still true today. We can't hide from it. We shouldn't run from it. And again, can we use this opportunity to close that digital divide? Can we use this opportunity to give every child in this country devices? Can we make sure everyone has access to Wi-Fi? This is a challenge not just to schools and school systems and states, but to the private sector. Can people really step up to make sure that every child has a chance to learn while school buildings, unfortunately, are closed?
How scared are your families, Phoebe?
They're scared. I mean, they're really scared. They were vulnerable and fragile to begin with, right? The social isolation that exists in our communities is strong, and that's part of what we break down. Our early childhood program has a home visiting program that transitions into play groups, right, so that our families can create their own social capital and their own connections. That's gone right now, and they're terrified. And frankly, my staff are also anxious and trying to be the best supports that they can without the remote tools that they need. I mean, listen, we've been part of the fabric of New York City for 167 years. We are going to be there, and we will get through this. But there's a lot of anxiety and angst, and I'm hoping this brings us together, right, that we start to understand how connected we are. And so I hope people, as you're sitting at home, being as safe as possible, is that you engage with us, support the work of the direct service nonprofits. We are on the front lines doing this work.
Tom Bossler said it this week. If we work together in this terrible moment, it can be our finest hour.
Yes, it can.
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. Thank you, Arne.